Testing, testing, testing. Testing, testing, testing. إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونتوب إليه وننيب إليه ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلوات الله وسلامه عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن تبعه بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد, we like to welcome everybody and anybody who hears this class live or later. This is the sixth class recording, the sixth recording in the series Explanation of AqedatulWaasitiyyah, taken mainly from the explanation by Sheikh Saleh Ali Sheikh Hafidhullah Ta'ala, with some additional benefits from some other books, and whatever other books or other ulama are benefited from, it will be specified. Those ulama will be specified, the books mentioned, insha'Allah ta'ala. So we like to welcome specifically the people of Atlantic City and everybody in general, anybody who tunes in and listens to these classes. Barakallahu feekum. May Allah bless you and bless us and give us success and tawfiq. The last class we talked about the Iman, still in the introduction. Iman, belief in the Yawm al-Akhir, and belief in the Qadr. Belief in the Day of Judgment and everything connected to that, and belief in the Qadr. And we said that belief in the Day of Judgment is two levels. The belief in the Day of Judgment is two levels. The general belief, which is the belief that's obligatory, the least belief that's obligatory, the least that a person has to believe. The Sheikh, he says, and that's the belief in death and what comes after death, all the way up until the people of paradise enter paradise and the people of hellfire into the hellfire, right? Or the Yawm al-Akhirah includes death and what comes after death, all the way until the people of paradise enter paradise and the people of hellfire enter the hellfire. The general belief, which is the level that a person has to have, the least level that a person has to have in order for the Islam to be correct. The person has to have certainty. The person has to be certain that there is a day where the people will return to Allah. يبعثون فيه من قبورهم للحساب على ما عملوا. They will be resurrected from their graves. The people will be resurrected from their graves to be taken, to be accounted for, to be for their actions to be accounted, for their actions to be accounted. وأن كل إنسان مجزي or مجزي بما فعل, and every person will be given something based on what he every person will be given something based on his actions. The one that فيجازى المحسن بإحسانه, the one that did good will be rewarded with good. والمسيء بإساءته, and the one that did evil will be given evil. كما قال تعالى سبحانه وجل ذكر, سبحانه وتعالى, as Allah Ta'ala mentions in the Quran in Surah Al-Zamr, وَوَفِّيَتْ كُلُّ نَفْسٍ مَا عَمِلَتْ وَهُوَ أَعْلَمُ بِمَا يَفْعَلُونَ, and every person will be given according to what they did. وَهُوَ أَعْلَمُ بِمَا يَفْعَلُونَ, and he is more knowledgeable about what they have done or what they do. فإذا آمن بهذا القدر وأنه سيبعث من جديد, and if a person believes in this amount, believes in this here, these things that were just mentioned, and that he will be resurrected anew, فإنه قد حقق هذا الركن, the person has actualized and believed in and implemented this pillar. وبعد ذلك الإيمان التفصيلي باليوم الآخر, and after that is the detailed belief in the Day of Judgment. وهذا يتبع العلم بما جاء في الكتاب والسنة من أحوال القبور, and this is in accordance with knowledge, the knowledge that a person has about what is in the Quran and the Sunnah about the situations in the grave and the situations on the Day of Judgment, and belief in the pond of the Prophet, and the belief in the scale and the pages and the bridge and so on and so forth, right? So the more a person learns, the more he believes. The next pillar and last pillar is the belief in the qadr, khayrihi wa sharrihi, and this is also two levels. The ijmali, the general belief, what a person needs to believe in order for his Islam to be correct, and that is أن يؤمن العبد بأن كل شيء يحدث في هذا الملكوت قد سبق به قدر الله. that the person believes that everything that happens in this creation is in accordance with the qadr of Allah. Allah Ta'ala's qadr preceded it. The qadr of Allah preceded everything that happens. وَأَنَّ اللَّهَ عَالِمٌ بِهَذِهِ الْأَحْوَالِ, and that Allah Ta'ala knows all of these things. وَتَفْصِيلَاتِهَا, and their details. بِخَلْقِهِ قَبْلَ أَنْ يَخْلُقَهُم, because he created these things. He knew about the creation of these things before he created them. وَكَتَبَ ذَلِكَ, and that Allah Ta'ala wrote that down. So a person believes that Allah Ta'ala's qadr preceded everything, that Allah Ta'ala knew everything before it happened, that everything that happens is in accordance with Allah Ta'ala's qadr, and that Allah Ta'ala knew everything that would happen before he created it. This is the basic belief that's obligatory. And after that is the detailed belief. So the person believes that Allah Ta'ala's knowledge, Allah Ta'ala knew everything in detail, everything that happened, everything that didn't happen, everything that would have happened, how it would have happened. Allah Ta'ala knew all of that. And that Allah Ta'ala wrote these things down in detail before he created the earth and the skies, 50,000 years before he created everything. And that all of this is in the Lawh al-Mahfuz. And then that Allah Ta'ala willed everything and created everything in accordance with that will and that decree, with that will and what was written down. Then we talked about the belief, a sort of introduction about the belief of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, and that the Aqidah of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah and the Asma wa Sifat is based on the statement Laysa kamithlihi shay wa huwa as-sami'ul basir. There's nothing similar to Allah Ta'ala, and he is as-sami' al-basir. Allah Ta'ala is the all-hearing. As-sami', he is the one that is called as-sami', which is one of Allah Ta'ala's names, which in summary means that Allah Ta'ala hears. Al-Basir, which is another name of Allah, which talks about Allah Ta'ala's characteristic of seeing. Laysa kamithlihi shay'un wa huwa as-sami'ul basir. The belief of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah in the names and attributes is based on this ayah and other ayat, but this ayah in particular. And you have the nafi, the negation, and the affirmation. Laysa kamithlihi shay', there's nothing like Allah, nothing at all. Wa huwa as-sami'ul basir, and he is as-sami'. Allah, one of Allah Ta'ala's names is as-sami', and he has the characteristics of hearing. Al-Basir, one of his names is Al-Basir, and he has the characteristics of hearing, seeing, hearing and seeing. And then we talked about the different errors of some of the different deviations that came about of people negating Allah Ta'ala's names and attributes. People negating Allah's names and attributes. We talked about the first people to negate names and attributes. And then we talked about people who came after them to negate names and attributes. Some people negating names and attributes, all of the names and attributes. Some people negating some of the names and attributes. Some people negating affirming the names and saying those names have no meaning. People saying we affirm the wording, but the meaning is a different meaning than the meaning of these words. All of this kind of stuff we talked about in the previous class, and inshallah we might, discuss it again in the future. Or in fact, we're going to have to discuss it again in the future as we talk about some of the characteristics. And these people, all of them came after the companions. The companions agreed. There was a consensus among the companions in the Aqidah and specifically the names and attributes. They didn't differ, as Ibn Qayyim rahimahullah ta'ala mentioned, and others, of course. And one of the proofs of that is these people, when they came denying the names and attributes, they were the only ones. They were the first people that said it. Ja'ad ibn Dirham, the first person that denied an attribute of Allah. The first person that denied. He denied that Allah Ta'ala spoke to Musa. And then Jahm ibn Safwan came and he denied all of the names and attributes. And they were in the same era. They were in the same era. And this was roughly when? He came about in the time of the Tabieen that met only a few companions. Mi'a wa Ishreen. He was for example, Jahm ibn Safwan, he was executed in 120 after the companions. SubhanAllah al-Azim. Likewise, the rest of them, whether it be the Mu'tazila or the Ash'ari, the Mu'tazila or the whether you want to talk about Ja'ad ibn Dirham or you want to talk about the Jahmiyyah or you want to talk about what was the other one? The Mu'tazila. Not to mention the Ash'ariyya and the Maturidiyya came in the 300s, way after. Way after. Right? Tayyib. So we're gonna read a few statements of some of the scholars of the past, the early scholars of the past, and how they understood the Asma wa Sifat based on the ayah, Laysa kamithlihi shay wa huwa as-sami'ul basir. There's nothing like Allah Ta'ala, He is as-sami' al-basir. This is all of the names and all of the attributes. And we're going to discuss this in more detail, but one of the subtleties of this ayah is that Allah Ta'ala mentions, after mentioning that there's nothing like Him whatsoever, He mentioned characteristics that many of His creation have. And of course, Allah Ta'ala's characteristics are unique to Allah. There's nothing like Him. But the name of this characteristic, hearing, sam', basar, seeing, is a characteristic that Allah Ta'ala Allah Ta'ala Himself mentions in the Quran that He gave it to the creation. وَجَعَلْنَاهُمْ سَمِيعًا بَصِيرًا. We made them hearing and seeing. Right? And Allah Ta'ala mentions in the Quran, other ayah, and one ayah is enough, but Allah Ta'ala mentions in other places in the Quran the same thing. The same thing. The same thing. So we have to say that although the creation has the characteristics of hearing and seeing, that Allah Ta'ala's characteristics of hearing and seeing are unique to Allah, based on the first part of the ayah. But we don't go and say no, based on the fact that we know that the creation has hearing and seeing. No, we're not going to say Allah has hearing and seeing. That's batil. That's falsehood. That we don't say that. Nor do we say this hearing and seeing of Allah has a different meaning. No, Allah Ta'ala sees and He hears in a way that is unique to Allah Ta'ala, as the characteristics as the characteristics are unique to the one being characterized. The characteristics of everything that exists are unique to the one that they're describing. So Allah Ta'ala is unique, as are His characteristics. طيب. Ibn Kathir rahimahullah ta'ala, he says in his tafsir, after mentioning the ayah ثُمَّ اسْتَوَى عَلَى الْعَرْشِ, that then Allah Ta'ala istawa ala al-arsh, right? And we say Allah Ta'ala rose above His throne in a way that's unique to Him. There's nothing similar to Allah Ta'ala. Ibn Kathir, he said, فَلِلنَّاسِ فِي هَذَا الْمَقَامِ مَقَالَاتٌ كَثِيرَةٌ جِدًّا لَيْسَ هَذَا مَوْضِعُ بَسْطِهَا. The people have mentioned many different things about this ayah, and this is not the place to mention all of those things. وَإِنَّمَا نَسْلَكُ فِي هَذَا الْمَقَامِ مَذْهَبُ السَّلَفِ الصَّالِحِ. He said, in this situation, we take the path of the righteous predecessors. Malik wal-Awza'i wal-Thawri wal-Layth ibn Sa'd wal-Shafi'i wa-Ahmad wa-Ishaq ibn Rahuya wa-Ghayruhum min a'immat al-Muslimin qadiman wa hadithan. He said, we take the path of the righteous, we take the path and the way, the madhab of the righteous predecessors. Al-Imam Malik ibn Anas, Al-Imam Awza'i, Al-Imam Sufyan al-Thawri, Al-Imam Layth ibn Sa'd al-Fahmi, Al-Imam Muhammad ibn Idris al-Shafi'i, Al-Imam Ishaq ibn Al-Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, Al-Imam Ishaq ibn Rahuya, wa ghayruhum, and others, min a'immat al-Muslimin, of the Imams of the Muslims, qadiman wa hadithan, from the past and the present. وَهُوَ إِمْرَارُهَا كَمَا جَاءَتْ. Ibn Kathir, he says, and this is affirming those attributes, characteristics, names, so on and so forth, as they have come. مِنْ غَيْرِ تَكْيِيفٍ, without saying how they are. وَلَا تَشْبِيهٍ, without making Allah Ta'ala similar to His character, to His creation. Without saying Allah is similar to His creation. وَلَا تَعْطِيلٍ, and without denying those names and attributes. وَالظَّاهِرُ الْمُتَبَادِرُ إِلَى أَذْهَانِ الْمُشَبِّهِينَ مَنْفِيٌّ عَنِ اللَّهِ. And what immediately comes to the minds of the people who say that Allah Ta'ala is similar to His creation, is not what is intended. Whether those people be outright mushabbihun, who are, there were some people that came that had this methodology. They would say, as a reaction to people like people who denied all of Allah Ta'ala's names and attributes, these people came in and said, no, Allah Ta'ala is like His creation. We seek Allah's refuge. This is not the way of Ahlul Sunnah. Right? Or whether it be people who they say, if we affirm this attribute, we are saying that Allah is like His creation. So we have to say it means something else. What immediately comes to the mind of these people and those is not what's intended. Because Allah Ta'ala is not similar to His creation in any way. Allah Ta'ala is not similar to His creation. As Allah Ta'ala mentions, لَيْسَ كَمِثْلِهِ شَيْءٌ وَهُوَ السَّمِيعُ الْبَصِيرُ. Allah Ta'ala, there's nothing like Allah Ta'ala. He is as-Sami'u al-Basir. Right? It's still the speech of Ibn Kathir. بَلَ الْأَمْرُ كَمَا قَالَ الْأَئِمَّةُ مِنْهُمْ نَعِيمِ ibn Hammad. al-Khuza'i Shaykh al-Bukhari. The issue is as Na'im ibn Hamad al-Khuza'i mentioned, and he is the Shaykh of Imam Bukhari. He said, "Man shabbaha Allahu bi khalqihi kafara." Whoever says Allah Ta'ala is like His creation has disbelieved. And this is a side note from me. When the scholars mention these kind of statements, it's not for anybody to go and say, "Look, he did it, kafir." No, that's not how that works. You can mention the general principles. The scholars mention the general principles all day. That doesn't mean that a person that falls into this mistake is immediately a kafir. That's not what that means. That means that action is kufr. But as the scholars mention, when it comes to making takfir when it comes to saying a specific individual is a kafir, there are conditions, there are preventatives, there's a process, right? You don't just go and say, "Look, he did it, he's a kafir." That's not how that works. The same thing with fisq, saying an individual is a fasik, a mubtadi', so on and so forth. That's not what this means. But to show the severity of the issue is very severe. Whoever says Allah is similar to His creation, فَقَدْ بِخَلْقِهِ كَفَرَ. Whoever says Allah Ta'ala is similar to His creation has disbelief. وَمَنْ جَحَدَ مَا وَصَفَ اللَّهُ بِهِ نَفْسَهُ فَقَدْ كَفَرَ. And whoever denies what Allah Ta'ala has described, whoever denies that which Allah Ta'ala has described Himself has disbelieved. وَلَيْسَ فِي مَا وَصَفَ اللَّهُ بِهِ نَفْسَهُ وَلَا رَسُولُهُ تَشْبِيهًا. And there is nothing in what Allah Ta'ala or His Messenger described Allah with. None of that is tashbih. None of it is tashbih. فمن أثبت لله تعالى ما وردت به الآيات الصريحة والأخبار الصحيحة على الوجه الذي يليق بجلال الله ونفى عن الله تعالى النقائص فقد سلك سبيل الهدى. Whoever affirms what Allah Ta'ala has described Himself in the clear verses and in the Quran and the Sunnah, authentic Sunnah, in a way that is appropriate for Allah Ta'ala, appropriate for His Majesty, without saying Allah is similar to His creation, without saying Allah Ta'ala is like this and like that and like that and like this. Also, without saying, you know what, we have to say that this word means something else, because if we said that it meant if we said that it meant this, then we would be doing this, and that's not appropriate. Now we affirm the meaning and we affirm the word. We affirm the word, we affirm the meaning, and we say that Allah Ta'ala, this characteristic of Allah Ta'ala is unique. Just as Allah Ta'ala Himself is unique, so too are His characteristics. Just as Allah is unique, so too are His characteristics. طيب, moving along. In the tafsir of al-Baghawi, ثم استوى على العرش, then Allah Ta'ala rose over the throne. Some of the scholars of tafsir say صعد, right, so on and so forth, rose. He says أولت المعتزلة الاستواء بالاستيلاء. The Mu'tazila and those that are like them, they say al-istiwa means al-istila, to rise. What Allah Ta'ala mentioned as istawa, rise, they say it mentions al-istila, which means to conquer. أما أهل السنة فيقولون الاستواء على العرش صفة لله تعالى بلا كيف. He says, as for Ahl Sunnah, they say al-istiwa, over the throne, rising above the throne, is a characteristic of Allah Ta'ala without a kayf, without saying it's like this or like that. يجب على الرجل الإيمان يجب على الرجل الإيمان به ويكل العلم فيه إلى الله. It's obligatory upon a person to believe it, and he leaves the knowledge of the details to Allah Ta'ala. As an individual asked Malik ibn Anas, about the statement Ar-Rahman ala al-Arsh istawa. Ar-Rahman, Allah, yani this is one of Allah Ta'ala's names, an attribute, one of Allah Ta'ala's names. Ala al-Arsh istawa, rose above the throne. In Surah Taha, verse number 5. He said to Imam Malik, كيف استوى? يعني how did Allah Ta'ala استوى? فأترك رأسه مليا وعلاه الرهضاء ثم قال Imam Malik, يعني he was overwhelmed by this question, right? He looked down and he was overwhelmed by this question. In summary, Imam Malik said these words that were that became a principle for Ahl Sunnah. Al-istiwa ghayru majhul. The term al-istiwa is not unknown, it's known. Wal kayf ghayru ma'qul. And how it happened is not known. It's not known. It's not we don't know it. We don't understand it. Wal imanu bihi wajib, and believing in it is obligatory. Wasu'alu anhu bid'ah, and asking such a question about it is innovation. وَمَا أَظَنُّكَ إِلَّا ضَالًا, and I think that you are astray. ثُمَّ أَمْرَ بِهِ فَأُخْرِجَ. Then the individual was ordered to be put out the masjid. وروي عن سفيان الثوري والأوزاعي وليث بن سعد وسفيان بن عيينة. So it was mentioned, it was narrated on Al-Imam Sufyan al-Thawri wal-Awza'i and Layth ibn Sa'ad al-Fahmi and Sufyan ibn Uyayna and Abdullah ibn Mubarak and others of the ulama, of the scholars of Sunnah, in this verse, that they said amirruha kama ja'at bila kayf. Affirm these characteristics, or this characteristic, as it has come, in accordance with the meaning in the Arabic language, without explaining, without saying how it is, without mentioning details about how, and it's like this and it's like that, and actually if we say it's like this, then it would mean this, so we have to do this. No. Amirruha kama ja'at bila kayf. Affirm it, which is the opposite of denial. Affirm it, and don't ascribe a how to it. طيب. Al-Khatib al-Baghdadi, he mentions his chain to Abi Ja'far al-Tirmidhi, one of the scholars of the past. He's فَسَأَلَهُ سَائِلٌ عَنْ حَدِيث. An individual asked him about the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The hadith was, "Inna Allah Ta'ala yanzilu ila sama' dunya." Allah Ta'ala yanzilu, descends to the skies of this dunya. The individual said, "فَالنُّزُولُ كَيْفَ?" How is this nuzul? فَيَكُونُ يَبْقَى فَوْقَهُ عُلُو. It's gonna be, if he descends, it's gonna be something above Allah. Look, falsafa. Why? Because this individual in this question, he said to himself, of course, if I descend, if somebody descends, if something descends, there's going to be something above them. See, he compared Allah to his creation, and then he asked the question, right? The problem was he compared Allah to the creation first. You should not, there is no comparison. Once these kind of thoughts come to your mind, you go back to the ayah. Laysa kamithlihi shay' wa huwa as-sami'ul basir. You deny, you say no. This only reason I'm asking this question is because I'm comparing Allah to his creation. And then you be done with it. You seek refuge in Allah, a'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, and you come back to your senses. And you affirm the ayah, wa huwa as-sami'ul basir. You affirm the characteristic, wa huwa as-sami'ul basir. This is where the problems begin. A person thinks about a characteristic, he hears a characteristic, and he says, if Allah does this, then this happen. Once you know that's not true. This if then about Allah Ta'ala is falsehood. Because your understanding of an if and a then is based on the creation. So once you say if Allah does this, then this is gonna happen, you made a huge error, because your if then is based on the creation, and then you do a comparison. Falsehood. All of it's falsehood. Abu Ja'far al-Tirmidhi, he says, an-nuzul ma'qul. The individual asks him, how is the nuzul? How is the nuzul in the hadith? He said, an-nuzulu ma'qul. The nuzul is something that's known, it's understood. Wal kayf majhul, and how is unknown. Wal imanu bihi wajib, and believing in it is obligatory. Was su'alu anhu bid'ah, and asking about it is innovation. This is mentioned by a Dhahabi and authenticated. This narration authenticated Al-Albani. Imam al-Dhahabi, when he mentioned this in his book Al-Ulu, and al-Dhahabi was a peer, a colleague of Ibn Kathir. He said, صدق فقيه بغداد وعالمها في زمانه. The faqih of Baghdad and the scholar in his time spoke the truth. إذ السؤال النزول ما هي أي, the question asking about the nuzul is what? It's a sickness. لأنه إنما يكون سؤال عن كلمة غريبة في اللغة. He said a question is only going to be about something that's strange in the Arabic language. Nuzul is something that's well known. وإلا فالنزول he says, الذهبي says, وإلا فالنزول descending, والكلام speech, والسمع والبصر والعلم hearing, the sense, or the astaghfirullah, hearing, seeing, knowledge, al-istiwa, rising, عبارات جلية واضحة للسامع. These are expressions that are clear to the one that hears them. فإذا اتصف بها من ليس كمثله شيء فالصفة تابعة للموصوف. He says, so if the one who there is nothing like him is described with these characteristics, he said, then the characteristic is going to be in accordance with the one that is being described. Once again, and this is a well-known thing. He said he said these characteristics, or these expressions, these statements are very clear to the one that hears them. So if the one that is unique, the one that laysa kamithlihi shay, al-ahad, al-fard, al-ahad, al-ahad, as-samad, right? If the one that is, there's nothing like him, laysa kamithlihi shay, as the ayat mentions, there's nothing like him, is described. If that one is, if Allah is described with these characteristics, then those characteristics are going to be in accordance with the one being described, unique to Allah Ta'ala. وكيفية ذلك مجهولة عند البشر. And how this is unknown to the creation. Right? طيب, moving along. Al-Imam at-Tirmidhi, the one that put the Sahib al-Sunan, the well-known scholar of hadith that put together the Jami' al-Tirmidhi, also referred to as Sunan at-Tirmidhi. He mentioned, rahimahullah, and Imam at-Tirmidhi was a student of al-Bukhari. He may have narrated from Imam Ahmad. He's in that era, right? he mentions about the hadith, إن الله يقبل الصدقة ويأخذها بيمينه. Allah Ta'ala accepts the charity and he takes it with his right hand. Right? يأخذها بيمينه. Right? This hadith is in Tirmidhi, the Sunan of Tirmidhi. He says, قال غير واحد من أهل العلم في هذا الحديث. More than one of the scholars have said about this hadith, وما يشبه هذا من الروايات, and those narrations similar to it, من الصفات, about Allah Ta'ala's characteristics, والنزول الرب, and Allah Ta'ala's descending, تبارك وتعالى, كل ليلة إلى سماء الدنيا, right? The hadith about Allah Ta'ala descending every night. He says قد ثبتت الروايات في هذا. He said the narrations on these subjects are affirmed. ويؤمن بها ولا يتوهم. He said you believe in this, you believe in these characteristics, these ahadith, and you don't start saying things that you have no knowledge about. Right? لا يتوهم. Right? You don't say, okay, well, maybe it's this and that. Nah, was knowledge, because the opposite of knowledge is wahm. The opposite of certainty is uncertainty. The opposite of knowledge, right, is wahm. Yani you have this word that Allah Ta'ala used, Allahu Akbar, and you come and say this word means this. That's called what? That's falsehood. He says, continuing, Imam Tirmidhi, he says, وَلَا يُقَالُ كَيْفٍ. You don't say كيف. وَهَكَذَا رُوِيَ عَنْ مَالِكٍ. Listen, the same thing from before. It was narrated from Malik, وسفيان بن عيينة, وعبد الله بن مبارك, أنهم قالوا, that they said, في هذه الأحاديث, about these narrations, أمروها بلا كيف. Affirm them without ascribing a kayf, without saying they are like this or like that or like A, B, C, D, E, F, G. No, affirm them. He says, وَهَكَذَا قَوْلُ أَهْلِ الْعِلْمِ أَهْلِ السُنَّةِ وَالْجَمَاعَةِ. He said, and this is the statement, this is the position of Ahl Sunnati. This is the position of the scholars of Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah. This is the position of Ahl Sunnati wal Jama'ah. Right? He says, Tirmidhi talking, وَأَمَّا, he says, وَأَمَّا الْجَهْمِيَّةِ, as for the Jahmiyyah, فَأَنْكَرَتْ هَذِهِ الرِّوَايَاتِ, they criticize these narrations. Now, so he said, أَمِرُّوهَا كَمَا جَاءَتْ, أَمِرُّوهَا كَمَا جَاءَتْ. That's the end of his statement. Right. Ishaq ibn Ibrahim, skip that one. Likewise from Fudayl ibn Iyad. And this is the last one I'm going to read from Abu Hanifa, Al-Imam Abu Hanifa Nu'man ibn Thabit, rahimahullah ta'ala. He says in his book, Fiqh al-Akbar, he says, وَلَهُ الْيَدْ وَلَهُ يَدٌ وَوَجْهٌ وَنَفْسٌ كَمَا ذَكَرَهُ اللَّهُ تَعَالَى فِي الْقُرْآنِ. Allah Ta'ala has a hand and a face and a self, a nafs, كَمَا ذَكَرَهُ, as he mentioned them, as he mentioned these things in the Quran. فما ذكره الله تعالى في القرآن من ذكر الوجه واليد والنفس فهو له صفات بلا كيف. Whatever Allah Ta'ala mentions in the Quran, are characteristics of his. They are Allah Ta'ala's characteristics bila kayf, without saying how they are. Then the Imam, he goes on, he says, وَلَا يُقَالُ إِنَّ يَدَهُ قُدْرَتُهُ أو نِعْمَتُهُ. Right? You don't say that Allah Ta'ala's hand is his qudra or his ni'mah, his favor, his bounty. You don't say that, the Imam says. You don't say that Allah Ta'ala's hand, يعني أن يده قدرته. You don't say that. لا يقال كذا. He says, لا يقال. No one should say, it should not be said, إن يده قدرته. That his hand, يعني means his qudra, his ability. Oh, ni'matuhu, his favor. لأن فيه إبطال الصفة, because this is a denial of that characteristic. وهو قول أهل القدر والاعتزال, and this is the statement of the people of Qadr, the Ahlul Qadr, the people who are astray in Qadr, and the people of al-i'tizal, Abdullah ibn Amr and his ilk, Ashariya, Maturidiyya, right? This is a speech of an Imam Abu Hanifa. And as some individuals have said, right? Imam Abu Hanifa is one of the Tabieen. And according to some of the scholars, this is what, I'm not affirming this, according to what somebody said. They said Abu Hanifa, according to some of the scholars, is they say Abu Hanifa is from the atbaa Tabieen, the students of the one of the students of the Tabieen. And according to some, he met some of the companions, so that makes him a tabi'i. According to some people, right? This scholar, this well-known Imam, he said what? Once again, Walahu yad wa wajh wa nafs. Allah Ta'ala has a yad, a hand. We know Allah Ta'ala has two hands. Wa wajh, and a face, wa nafs, and a self. And once again, these are in accordance with Allah Ta'ala's majesty and uniqueness. Allah Ta'ala's characteristics are in accordance with his majesty and his uniqueness and his greatness. They're not like the characteristics of the creation. As the principle is, just because two characteristics share the same name don't mean that those characteristics are the same in reality. Abu Hanifa, he says, Barakallahu fikum. Allah Ta'ala, he says, Walahu yad wa wajhun wa nafs. Allah Ta'ala has a face, a hand, Allah Ta'ala's hands, face, and self. As he mentions in the Quran. فَمَا ذَكَرَ اللَّهُ تَعَالَى فِي الْقُرْآنِ, as whatever Allah Ta'ala mentions, or what Allah Ta'ala mentions in the Quran, مِنْ ذِكْرِ الْوَجْهِ وَالْيَدِ وَالنَّفْسِ, of including the face, the hand, and the self, فَهُوَ لَهُ صِفَاتٌ بِلَا كَيْفٍ. These are characteristics of Allah without ascribing a how. وَلَا يُقَالْ, a person should not say إِنَّ يَدَهُ قُدْرَتُهُ, that his yad means his qudra, or ni'matuhu, or that his hand means his. Person should not say that Allah Ta'ala, the mentioning of the hand means Allah Ta'ala's ability, or it means Allah Ta'ala's favor. The Imam, he says, لِأَنَّ فِيهِ إِبْطَالَ الصِّفَةِ, this is a nullification of the characteristic. وَهُوَ قَوْلُ أَهْلِ الْقَدْرِ, this is the position of the people who are astray in Allah and the issue of qadr and al-i'tizal, right? The people of qadr and i'tizal, the mu'tazila, right? Likewise, you don't do the same thing to the other. You don't do the same thing to the other characteristics. This really means that. This really means that. No, that's a nullification. That's a denial of those characteristics. And there are other things that could be mentioned. Barakallahu fikum. I think we'll stop here. We ask Allah Ta'ala to give us success, to aid us and help us in understanding, and to give us firmness, and to give us light, and to protect us from polytheism, disbelief, hypocrisy, innovation, and other forms of heresy. May Allah Ta'ala help us and aid us and give us firmness. Guide us and guide our children and rectify our affairs, and guide us and guide our wives and spouses and our children, our brothers and sisters. And may Allah Ta'ala have mercy on the individuals who have passed among the Muslims who have passed. Make their grave spacious. Forgive them their sins. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.